Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Hoosier Energy, providing electricity to southern and central Indiana electric cooperatives and their member customers. Information at hepn.com. Indiana University's Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, presenting Security Matters, with tips for improving online security in 3 minutes or less. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk, the proposed constitutional marriage amendment will not be on the November ballot.
The Constitution is about how we accept all Hoosiers who have the right for the pursuit of happiness in this great state of ours.
A new study shows judges hand down harsher sentences later in the day. Researchers blame a phenomenon called decision fatigue.
It becomes very difficult to maintain a certain level of expertise in the way you approach subsequent kind of tasks, and usually you see some undermining of people's performance.
And an update on how Indiana native Nick Goepper performed in the Sochi Olympics. Those stories and a look at this week's headlines right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Hello, I'm Joe Wren, and welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. The proposed constitutional amendment defining marriage as between a man and a woman is not going on the November ballot after the Senate failed to offer any amendments to the bill yesterday. Here's a quick breakdown of what happened. In 2011, the legislature passed the proposed amendment. Lawmakers had to pass the measure again this year in order to send it to the voters for approval. But the House voted earlier this year to remove the amendment's second sentence, which bans civil unions. And the amendment the House voted on specifically required the ratification process to start over. The Senate had the option of reinserting the second sentence, but didn't. The next chance the amendment has to get on the ballot is 2016. Josh and Lynn reports on the likelihood that will happen.
More than 2 decades ago, Philip Cooper's daughter left Indiana after graduating high school. She's been back for visits since then, but as for moving back for good, she told her father it would be uncomfortable.
And I just think that is just terribly, terribly wrong for the environment and the state that she was brought up in to be an uncomfortable place for her to return.
Cooper's daughter is a lesbian, and because of her, he's made several trips to the State House in the last few weeks to join the protests against House Joint Resolution 3. Before the Senate heard the measure Thursday, Cooper said he was thinking about leaving the state if it was voted into the state constitution.
I will choose not to live in an environment myself where every person I look at, I have to think, did you vote against my daughter or did you vote for her? I won't do that.
That's not going to happen now, at least not this year. The bipartisan coalition called Freedom Indiana spent months recruiting high-profile companies and universities and filling the State House with protesters every time the bill comes up for a vote. And it appears to have paid off.
The Constitution is not about the past, it's about the future. And a Constitution is about how we accept all Hoosiers who have the right for the pursuit of happiness in this great state of ours.
But the fight isn't over. Just this week, a group called Young Hoosiers for Marriage called a press conference for its launch at the State House, saying Freedom Indiana did not represent all young people in the state.
The primary reason the government is in the marriage business, or why we have marriage laws, is because the government has an interest in protecting children and ensuring that, wherever possible, kids have both their mom and dad in their life.
If the legislature passes the amendment either next year or the year after that, it would go on to the 2016 ballot. Indiana University political science professor Marjorie Hershey says a lot can happen in 2 years, but there are definite trends when it comes to same-sex marriage.
One of the things that's been most remarkable is there's been a tremendously fast change in public opinion about same-sex marriage. We don't normally see a change this fast. 10 years ago, there were no states that legalized same-sex marriage. Now it's 17 plus another 2 that are in the process. This is really unusual. It suggests a change in public opinion that means that the longer people wait for this constitutional amendment, the less likely public opinion is to support it.
The chances the amendment would pass in 2016 are also lower because of who's likely to vote in that year's election.
In a presidential election, we find younger voters more likely to turn out than they were at the midterm, and also more diverse electorate in terms of race and ethnicity. And that means that an amendment like this is going to do better in a midterm year than it's going to do in a presidential year.
And a lot depends on the groups campaigning for and against amending the state's constitution. Both sides say their work isn't done. Instead, they're already gearing up for a fight all the way to 2016.
The state Senate plans to vote on HJR-3 Monday. The Senate Majority Leader says he supports the measure as it stands now without the second sentence, but he also says the issue will ultimately be decided not by the state legislature, but by the U.S. Supreme Court. And news coming out of other states indicates it's likely the Supreme Court that will eventually have to take up the issue. Nevada's Attorney General and Governor announced this week that they would not defend the state's same-sex marriage ban in federal court. And a federal judge yesterday struck down Virginia's ban on same-sex marriage. No word yet on Governor Mike Pence and his take on this. As you may remember, back in January during his State of the State address, the governor said Hoosiers should decide on this issue once and for all. He wanted it to be over with and done, but now that's not going to be the case. Now we go over to Alex Dirkman for a look at this week's top stories. Alex?
Thank you, Joe. Fewer Hoosiers signed up for insurance under the Federal Health Exchange in January than did in December. That's according to new data from the U.S. Health and Human Services Administration. More than 17,000 enrolled in January compared to 27,000 in December. Healthcare experts attribute December's surge to the deadline the federal government set for people to receive insurance at the start of the new year. The next major deadline is March 31st. Most people who do not have health insurance by then will be required to pay a penalty on their federal taxes as mandated under the Affordable Care Act. Indiana's Attorney General wants the federal government to step in with grant money to help the state combat the spread of the invasive Asian carp. The fish have already been found in many of the rivers that connect to the Great Lakes, including the Wabash River. A recent U.S. Army Corps of Engineers study outlined several ways federal money could be used to reduce the Asian carp population. But Indiana Attorney General Greg Zeller says the study did not focus enough on what could be done in Indiana. And if the state were to receive federal grants, it could research other options. However, a Purdue professor says if the government gave out grants, most of them would probably go to Illinois, since the Illinois River is directly connected to the Great Lakes. The Wabash, on the other hand, is only connected through tributaries. Indiana Department of Transportation officials want the General Assembly to release $400 million in transportation funding. INDOT officials say the agency would use the money to widen sections of Interstates 65, 70, and 69 to 6 lanes across. It's not clear whether state lawmakers will release the money, though. The Senate Appropriations Committee will vote on a bill that would do so next week. A bill the Senate is considering would erase the tax on small businesses with less than $25,000 worth of equipment. The move would cost Indiana counties around a combined $30 million each year. But Governor Mike Pence said this week he's open to replacing that lost revenue from some other source. Terre Haute Mayor Duke Bennett was one of more than a dozen mayors who met with Pence to express concerns about eliminating the tax this week. He says cash-strapped local governments aren't in a position to lose any more revenue.
We all are on the same page. We want Indiana to grow economically, and then our communities will grow because of that, the environment that we create. Nobody's disagreeing that, and maybe even specifically, nobody's going to disagree that tax shouldn't go away, but we need replacement revenue.
A separate House bill would give each county the option of ending the tax on new equipment purchases, potentially making it easier to attract new employers to their area. The state legislature could vote next week to send a farmers' rights bill to Governor Pence's desk. The House Agriculture Committee this week approved a bill declaring farmers had a right to use any, quote, generally accepted farming practices. Farm groups say the bill is needed to protect the industry from attack by environmental and animal rights activists. Environmental groups counter that many legal farm practices, including confined feeding operations and genetically modified crops, should be open to scrutiny. The propane shortage this winter has exposed weaknesses in propane delivery methods to the Midwest. More propane is consumed in the Midwest than in any other region because of the rural landscape and agricultural businesses. But the closest propane stockpile is located in Kansas. An industry group says this winter may prompt change by creating laws to help fund and expand storage infrastructure in the Midwest. Treating depression could help prevent heart disease. That's according to new research from IUPUI. Over 200 elderly, clinically depressed patients participated in the study. Some of the patients received antidepressants and psychotherapy, others didn't. The patients who did had lower risk of stroke and heart attack for the next 8 years. A bill to allow alcohol sales at the Indiana State Fair is moving ahead in the state legislature. Alcohol is sold at the fairgrounds 348 days out of the year, with the only exception being during the state fair itself, which has been dry since 1946. Fair officials say allowing alcohol sales would generate more revenue. The proposed legislation already cleared the Senate. The House Public Policy Committee is expected to vote on the bill next week. Indianapolis-based Republic Airways is taking 24 planes out of the sky. They say tougher federal aviation rules are the reason why. 6 months ago, the FAA boosted the number of hours of in-flight training it takes to qualify as a commercial pilot from 250 hours to 1,500 hours. That's caused an industry-wide pilot shortage since fewer pilots meet the new higher threshold. Airline officials say the FAA needs to change its rules to reemphasize quality over quantity of hours. And honest to goodness, Indiana is the state's new official tourism slogan. The saying replaces restart your engines, which has been around since 2006. The Tourism Development Office spent $100,000 on the effort to develop the slogan. And Joe, the creators hope their rebranding efforts will attract more business and tourism to the state.
I'm wondering if the slogan should be, it will be warmer again soon.
That would be nice.
Thanks, Alex. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. The more decisions you make, the worse your decisions become. What researchers have discovered about the human brain and how it could be affecting who goes to jail. Indiana has the second highest rate of sexual assault in the nation. We'll update you on legislation aimed finding out why that is. Our state impact education team explains the governor's latest push to pass a pre-K voucher program and what academic standards Indiana's education officials are likely to adopt in the coming months. Those stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
PBS kicks off the weekend with Charlie Rose and America's top newsmakers on his new series, Charlie Rose, The Week.
Some people say, well, Obama was this raving liberal before, now he's, Dick Cheney.
Recap the week's biggest stories and Charlie's best interviews.
You feel there's this incredible synergy between the audience and the performer, and time slows down.
And get a look at the week ahead. Charlie Rose, The Week. Check local listings.
Frontline provides me with information that makes me think.
First I shout at the television. You gotta be kidding!
You won't see this anywhere else.
The stories hit close to home.
Truth is a very valuable commodity.
They're uncompromising.
I want to do something. I want to take action.
It changed the way I actually live my life. It lets me make up my mind. I trust it.
When I watch Frontline,
it makes me angry and it makes me want to voice it.
I want to make a difference.
We can make a difference.
Frontline.
These guys are my heroes.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. It's been almost exactly a year ago that we brought you Shadows of Innocence, Sexual Assault Among Indiana's Youth, a documentary showcasing the problem of teen sexual abuse in Indiana. The documentary started a conversation about sexual assault in Indiana and why Indiana ranked second to worst in the country for the number of assaults against teenage girls. As we told you earlier in this program, a legislator even proposed a study that would gather more information about why Indiana has such a high rate. It seemed like the measure was going to fail, but Sarah Whitmire joins us now to give us an update. And Sarah, it seems like that the legislation has given it a second chance, actually.
Right. Representative Christina Hale proposed legislation that would study the problem of sexual assault in Indiana, work to get some concrete data on why. But it didn't make it out of committee by the halfway point of the legislative session, so most people thought it was dead. But what happened this week was Senator Merritt picked it up and he amended it into his Lifeline bill, which passed unanimously. So Christina Hale is saying this is amazing and this is going to really make Indiana a leader in terms of confronting the problem of sexual assault now.
It's a wake-up call for Indiana and our opportunity to step forward and say, you know what, not on our watch, not in Indiana. We're going to do something, and we're going to do it the right way so that we can be efficient with our resources and effective. And to be efficient and effective, we have to have a better understanding of the problem.
So the bill this week was unanimously approved, so now it goes to the full House. So we'll see what happens there.
So any idea on how the study is going to be conducted?
Yeah, so the bill requires a couple different state agencies to study it. So we know it's going to be the Commission on Improving the Status of Children in Indiana. They're going to get involved, but then it's either going to be the State Health Department or the Office of Women's Health, and they're going to work together to determine the number of victims of domestic and sexual violence. Now, one thing, so we have pretty good data that says this is a problem in Indiana. It's 17.3% of high school age girls are raped before they graduate high school, but we don't have any information as to why. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to figure that bigger question out.
So it seems like this is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely, no one would dispute that. It's going to be interesting to see how they get accurate data, though, and I think that's important to note here because we already know that fewer than half of all sexual assaults are reported. So how the study is going to account for that, I think, is going to be really interesting. You know, one of the people who was in our documentary, Malia Crosby, has been, and she's been outspoken since this has made its way to the legislature, and it took her more than a decade to come forward.
I think we have an idea in some cases why it's unreported, but there's just a myriad of reasons that, and countless more. You know, I can speak to myself, but every story that I hear is different. Society blames us. No one believed us. I put myself in a position where I shouldn't have. So kind of all those self-dialogues that you have just keeps you from reporting.
Society blames us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Joe.
We make thousands of choices each day, what to wear, what to eat, where to park. New research shows making too many decisions can be exhausting. But does it lead you to making bad choices? Taylor Killow reports.
Mary Ellen Dekoff spends most of her days making decisions about other people's lives. As a Monroe County Circuit Court judge, she reviews cases filed in her court and sets hearings. She decides who goes to jail and for how long.
I have a criminal docket, so I preside over cases, misdemeanors, felonies, traffic infractions. I also preside over the Monroe County Drug Treatment Court.
Each case includes dozens of factors, so some days she makes hundreds of decisions, even before lunch.
It depends upon what kind of day it is. If it's a misdemeanor pretrial day, I could hear 40 to 60 cases. If it's a felony pretrial day, I could hear probably 30 to 40 cases if they're pretrials.
A study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences looked at the decisions of judges in Israel when considering parole. It found that the more decisions the judges had made, the more likely they were to keep the status quo, meaning they were less likely to grant parole. This is called decision fatigue, the idea that cognitive resources become depleted if someone makes too many decisions. And two Indiana University professors say there is plenty of scientific evidence to support the idea of decision fatigue and its potential consequences. Peter Todd and Ed Hurt are professors in psychological and brain sciences. Hurt says the point where someone is likely to experience decision fatigue depends on how they think about decision making. If someone enjoys deciding what to watch on TV, but tires of deciding what to eat, they are less likely to become fatigued while channel surfing.
It does create a situation where it becomes very difficult to maintain a certain level of expertise in the way you approach subsequent kind of tasks, and usually you see some undermining of people's performance.
The Israel Judge study also includes data on the judge's eating habits and suggests blood glucose levels may affect the decisions made, something Todd concludes in his research on food and the brain.
I present the possibility that the behavior of the judges is related to how long it's been since they've eaten. That's what the common interpretation in the press has been.
And though Judge Dekoff admits growing tired of making decisions,
there'll be times when my husband will say, "What do you want for dinner?" or, you know, where do you want to go for dinner? And I'll say, "I've been making decisions all day. You decide."
She says the study is oversimplified because it does not consider all the factors in a judge's decision.
For instance, you could have a case where you have 4 defendants. They could all be charged with the exact same criminal offense. You could have one at 9, one at 11, one at 1:30, one at 4. Are you going to get different sentences and results?
Dieckhoff says yes, but not because of how many decisions she's already made.
Because you're talking about 4 different individuals, 4 different criminal histories, whether or not they were victims, whether or not there were aggravating factors, mitigating factors, the age of the defendant, where the crime took place, how the crime took place.
The researchers point out decision fatigue doesn't necessarily mean making bad choices. You just may be more likely to fall back on default decisions. Todd says default decisions and decision fatigue are related and can have negative consequences when making more complicated choices.
The default decisions will happen more in situations where there's time pressure or where, for instance, you have gotten tired and don't have the necessarily the mental energy to put into thinking more deeply about the situation.
Judge Dieckhoff says she makes sure to take breaks throughout her day to stay fresh.
Although sometimes I wish I did have a crystal ball as far as being able to predict. You know, when you're, especially if you're going to put somebody on probation or let somebody out of jail, that you had a crystal ball that would say, it's fine, they'll be fine, everybody's safe, the community will be safe. That would be helpful.
Researchers say there isn't one specific way to battle decision fatigue. It's different for everyone, so they advise people to be aware of when they need to take breaks and do what makes them feel most refreshed. Governor Mike Pence took the unusual step this week of testifying in a state legislative committee, urging them to support a bill creating a pre-K voucher program. He did so before lawmakers on the Senate Education Committee, the same panel that's raised concerns over the program's cost in the past. Let's bring in State Impact Indiana's Kyle Stokes. Kyle, will Pence's support be enough to turn the tide?
That has been the question here throughout this debate, Joe, and we will find out next week when the Senate Education Committee votes on the proposal. Members of the same panel essentially shot down virtually identical legislation last session. The governor supported pre-K legislation during his run for office, but he's made a more concerted push this year for a pilot program that would cover tuition at a public or private preschool for up to 1,000 low-income children. Some people fear it's a backdoor expansion of the state's voucher program because it automatically makes pre-K voucher recipients eligible for K-12 vouchers later. Some budget hawks also worry that the program's cost could very easily balloon. It's possible that school districts have delayed or canceled classes on twice as many days as they did last year thanks to an unusually snowy winter. With high-stakes tests coming up in March, state education officials say they're going to let school corporations bend the normal rules a little bit. Instead of making up snow days by adding school days at spring break or before summer vacation, state officials will allow districts to add hours to their school day and count that time towards making up for snow days. So for each 6-hour day lost, a district would have to add, for example, an hour onto 6 separate days. Research is mixed on whether longer school days can make up for lost ones, but State Board of Education members say the extreme weather means state officials have to be flexible. Experts in the fields of math and English instruction are in Indianapolis, rewriting the state's most basic expectations for what students should know and learn this week. It's a process that's normally routine. Rewriting academic standards are kind of like buying a new mattress. But it was politics that launched this year's rewrite. Lawmakers paused the implementation of the Common Core, a set of nationally crafted expectations that dozens of other states have adopted for their students. These are expectations, by the way, that will be used to craft the standardized tests that kids take each year. The number of Indiana students taking AP exams has more than doubled in the last decade, but the number of Indiana students passing AP tests is another story. A smaller percentage of Hoosier high schoolers earn scores that are good enough for college credit than test takers nationally. This graphic shows how Indiana's scores stack up with neighboring states, but it doesn't point out, Joe, that higher proportions of Indiana's student population are taking the test than they are across the border in Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, or Michigan.
Thanks, Kyle. And we want to congratulate Indiana native Nick Goepper for winning the bronze medal in the Sochi Olympics. Nick and 2 of his American teammates swept the podium yesterday in the ski slopestyle competition. It's only the 3rd time in Winter Olympic history that a United States team has swept the medals in one event. And look at this tweet Goepper sent out just after his win. Indiana, the bronze is coming back home. See you soon. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, for a Flatlander, no less.
Have you been watching?
Yeah. Not only is he a Hoosier, and that's unusual, he doesn't ski with poles. That's another unusual thing.
That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news in Southern Indiana throughout the week. It's all at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Hoosier Energy, providing electricity to Southern and Central Indiana electric cooperatives and their member customers. Information at HEPN.com. Indiana University's Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, presenting Security Matters, with tips for improving online security in 3 minutes or less. And by WTIU members. Thank you.